Hello, and welcome to the Footy Podcast. To benefit Here's Help. Here's Help is a nonprofit comprehensive rehabilitation and educational agency that's been providing treatment services in South Florida since 1968. For more information on Here's Help or Footy's podcast, you can contact us at 305-685-8201. If you need help or know someone who has a substance abuse or alcohol problem, you can call our admissions office at 305-685-8201, extension 224. If you'd like to make a cash donation to Here's Help and join the fight against drug abuse, call Footy at 305-685-8201, extension 227. Now, here's Footy.
Welcome to the Footy Podcast. Is that what we call this, the Footy Podcast?
It is, in fact, the Footy Podcast.
Well, I'm Footy. That's the podcast. That's Ron Hersey. And we're here coming to you directly from our studios in North Miami. What do you...
It's beautiful Miami Gardens.
Miami Gardens.
Yes.
That's the way to go. And... We put the podcast on every week. We also represent Here's Help and try to pass along information that could be helpful to people that having a problem. I didn't know. Did you hear this commercial? 64,000 people a year die of opiate, overdoses or
it's unbelievable
varieties. 64,000 people.
And it's everywhere, absolutely everywhere.
Yeah.
And talking about drugs being everywhere, I'm sure you've seen this footage of, I believe it's a Tampa police officer that's searching a vehicle. He was a young recruit. I think it was like his first week on the job, and they had pulled this vehicle over for a traffic stop. It was an SUV, and he's in the back rummaging through stuff in the back of the vehicle, and he just collapses. And fentanyl. He had somewhere in the back of the van. He had encountered fentanyl, and he just collapsed right there.
He died.
No, fortunately they had the aspirator. Is that what it's called?
Mm-hmm.
And they were able to save his life. But it's hard to watch.
Well, that's fentanyl,
and it's everywhere. They're putting it in everything. So
that's fentanyl.
You think you're just buying weed from your buddy down the street?
No, the people that are taking that don't think they're buying weed.
Well, no, I'm saying that they're putting it in everything they
take one
can.
look at it, they know exactly what it is.
Yeah.
That's not on the scale of drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Fentanyl is at the top.
Yeah.
Or near the top, if not on the top, and weed is weed.
Right.
There's not just how can I put it? There is a hierarchy of drugs.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
For example, I never smoked weed in my life. I thought it was the stupidest thing on earth. Well, what the hell would I want with that?
What's the point?
My cousin used to bring it around.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, weed? Do I look like a 12-year-old?
Bring me the real stuff, huh?
Well, that's what I operated in.
Yeah. Well, we're glad you're still around. We're glad you have Here's Help, and you can help young men that are going through the same things that you and a lot of others, a lot of us have gone through over the years. So it's good that this is here, and it's good to talk to the young men and see them going through the program. And if you're listening to our podcast and you think you know somebody, or you may be experiencing some issues yourself with substances, you can always go to here'shelpinc.com and read up on what's going on here at Here's Help, and you can find a list of phone numbers you can call, and there certainly is a lot of help at Here's Help for young people who are struggling with substances. And as you say, it's everywhere, and it's really taking a toll on our young people. So we need
taking a toll on a lot of people.
Yeah.
Not only young people.
True. Very true.
Yeah, everybody can go to the doctor nowadays.
Yeah.
And going to the doctor is, how can I explain this? It's one of the active avenues to get stuff you really shouldn't be fooling with.
Right.
But there's doctors that will do it.
Well,
I used to do? You know what I invented?
What?
Going to the doctor.
Mm-hmm.
You go in the little room and you have drawers and all stuff. And then the doctor goes to the office or the bathroom, and we'd go through the drawers till I found the prescription pads.
Right. Well, you didn't invent that, believe me.
Oh, yeah.
I've heard that story many times.
And then when the doctor came back, I would tell him I felt better.
Right. Oh, God, gee, Doc, just talking to you.
Yeah.
You know, I feel so much better.
But there were neighborhoods that you could go to, and really what it was is, the pharmacy was failing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, old and going out of business, and the pharmacists or the people who owned it or whatever, they were very lax.
And desperate.
Oh, and desperate, yeah.
Mm.
And we used to find them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I remember there was one in Jamaica, Queens. It was the only active. It was the only active business in that neighborhood. Everything else was shut down. And it was an old guy. He'd been there forever, and he was failing in every way.
Mm-hmm.
And they get kind of liberal when they get in that situation. So,
well, is it? Am I correct in assuming that also a lot of people get into, especially with opiates and Xanax and those sort of things?
There's a difference.
Well, I know, but relatively innocently, they'll get in a car accident, they'll get hurt at work, they'll go in for some surgery, and the doctor writes them a prescription, and before they even realize what's happened, they're addicted, and they're going to these other sources that, like you're talking about.
Well, I think your question is, are there people in the pharmacy business who are desperate and trying to get, stay afloat,
yeah,
and they will do it,
right?
And the how can I put this? The people seeking that stuff find those guys.
Right. Well, I think what I was saying was, although there are people, I mean, people don't just wake up one morning and say, I think I'll become an addict. And I think there are people who, start with weed, because I know we've talked to so many young men here who start with weed and they keep going for, a bigger high.
That's not really how it works. That's a straight person's fairy tale.
Right.
What happens there is they start with whatever they start with, and then they go right up the chain.
Right.
Yeah, they don't,
But it does seem to me...
Weed seems a little, how can I put this, childish.
Right.
To when you get to the real stuff.
Right.
Which is not good.
But I guess what I'm saying, there are people who wind up in the hospital for various medical procedures and wind up addicted to various prescription drugs before they even realize what's happened to them. I don't know if that's the case or not. I guess that's what I'm asking.
Those people are seeking those drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they know all the, which doctor does this and which one does that, and which pharmacy is this and which one's that, and but you can go down to the street corner and
right,
and get in there. So anyway, I went on a little vacation.
We missed you last week. So, you said you had quite a story to tell about your vacation. Anytime you leave the South Florida area on any type of travel, you always come back with a story. You always have some misadventure.
Well, this was...
I'm never traveling with you.
This is a misadventure, all right.
All right, well, let's hear it.
All right, so I was scheduled on vacation to go to Atlantic City, a couple of my friends, and stay at Caesar's Palace, and know a lot of people there, and go to Morton's. I love going to Morton's, the restaurant there, because I don't have to pay for it. I just have to sign for it. But food is good. But anyway, I go to the airport.
Which is
a week ago Sunday.
MIA?
No, Fort Lauderdale.
Okay.
And I get there, and I couldn't get in the actual airport. There were so many people.
Yeah.
They had people that were allegedly forming lines that. But this, see, is a little backdrop here. That back then, a week ago, Spirit Airlines they weren't striking. People think they were on strike. They weren't. They did a work stoppage because I guess there's certain rules about strikes and things or whatever. So I go walking into the airport and I scanned the horizon and I said, "You're kidding." Thousands.
I'll bet, yeah.
Thousands of people.
Everywhere.
Yeah. And a lot of them are not with the greatest intentions. Okay, so I'm in the airport and I go, "Gee, I was going to go home." It was so ridiculous. Does the word anarchy ring a bell? Yeah. Oh, you wouldn't have been laughing in the airport.
I'll bet. No,
They were jumping over the counters. They were breaking the computers. They were fighting.
Oh, my God.
They were punching each other in the face. There's thousands of people and one cop. and one crazy, a woman that I thought she was on the janitorial staff. There was nobody. And I asked her about the flight, and she said, "That flight left days ago." And I went, "What?" It's really hard. I've tried to explain it to a couple of people. So I make the wise decision, which is to go home, not to go. So I walked down to find an escape route. And when I got down, I proved to myself how stupid I really am. And when I went down, I'm walking, I'm getting to leave, and there's a guy walks out a door on the floor that I was on. And he had on some kind of half-assed, airline get-up. And he says, "Where are you going?" "What do you mean, where am I going? I'm going home." He says, No, but where are we going to go?" I said, "I was going to go to Atlantic City." He said, "We'll take you." I'm like, what is this? And there's a plane. He says, we still have 2 seats. Go ahead, you get in. Dumb me, I get in the plane.
What airline was this? Did it have any insignia at all?
There was...
Only you.
So anyway, I mean, it was, you're right, it was unimaginable what was taking place. And stupid me, I get on the plane thinking, oh, okay, they're going to Atlantic City, I'll go with them. And I did. And we sort of got there. I don't believe we actually made a legal landing. Because Atlantic City, the airport's, there's 8 people in it. Well, we landed. And I'm like, Jesus. So now I'm on my way over to Caesar's Palace, meet my friends, and have a good time. And some of that happened, but what I didn't factor in is you got to go back. Okay? you have to go back.
Right. You got to get home.
So I got to fly back.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And the captain of the new plane, I think I saw him in a Peter Sellers movie. You know, the guy was just. And I'm looking, and I'm on this. Now I'm on this plane going the other way. After I lost all my money.
Right.
It was just.
The casino wasn't good to you?
Wasn't good to anybody, and times were really thin. And it was. Let me see if I can describe it. Oh, hell. That's what it would be. and I'm just, and I have friends there. I've often gone there throughout my life. I know the people in the restaurants. I know that, I get around. I think what happened was when things started falling apart, and you could tell that was happening because things were falling apart.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, well, this is just not like it's supposed to be. It wasn't. Something was wrong here. I got there, went to my usual haunts, run around with my friends, but it was you could just feel it.
Right.
That this is wrong.
Just wasn't fun.
Yeah, this is bad. This is a bad. Right. Why did I get on this plane? What am I doing here? Right. How am I ever going to get out of here? Okay. No, I mean, I was in an anarchistic system of insanity.
Oh, my God.
And guess who fit in perfectly? So, anyway, now I go to the airport to leave. And again, the Atlantic City Airport is 6 people in the whole place. Mm-hmm. And very efficient, very well run, and the people know what they're doing, but they're not under any pressure. Mm-hmm. Well, I got on there. They put me on this and send me back to Fort Lauderdale. Great.
Now, did you get back on the Miracle airline that you flew up on? Well, if we get you there, it's a miracle, or did you fly on your original? I guess what I'm asking is, since you didn't get on the flight you were supposed to have gotten on, did they give you a hard time about getting on the return flight?
No. Well, it was. How can I explain this? There was one flight that was still going.
Uh-huh.
Guess what it was?
What?
Spirit Air. Okay.
Oh.
So now I'm leaving Atlantic City and I'm heading back to the riot.
Back to the riot.
You're laughing. It's not a joke.
Yeah, I'm laughing because it's so true.
It wasn't. If I could have like a barbarian's outfit on, I would have.
Right. A shield and a spear.
Yeah, over there. So now we land like. I thought the guy was. I don't know. Whatever happened. So we get to the airport, and. There's 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 people at the airport. Still there.
Still.
No service, fights going on. Mm-hmm. Anarchy, complete anarchy. And then my transportation, okay, was ordered in advance. Mm-hmm. Here I am now, I'm in the airport. And I'm looking around. This is, they're going to start throwing bags out here, and people are just going to start grabbing them. Mm-hmm. So I'm standing there, and we're there, and we see coming out of the tube, mm-hmm. my bag. And I'm like, you're kidding.
Right, the first one out, huh? And
how did this happen?
Yeah, must have been the last one in.
So we get the... No. So I'm with the guy. He's a good
guy. Get your bag.
Well, I said, that's my bag. He runs over and he grabs it. We have to flee the airport to get out.
Wow.
Okay? And people everywhere, thousands of people, and they're out of their minds. They're not normal people anymore. They're crazy people. And they're in a crazy place. We went out the door. He had the car in the parking lot. We got in the car. We got out of there, which was a trick. And we escaped. And I made it home with no money, no fun, no time, nothing.
Wow.
Just horrible the whole time, except for Morton's.
Right.
And that hit the spot.
And you could have done that here.
Not the same.
Not the same.
No, not the same at all.
Well, you're lucky that, did you see
I'm
the
not
guy?
lucky. I'm totally broke. I am totally broke. I don't have a dime to my name.
Oh, man.
And my life is in shambles. And but I took my final flight from Atlantic City was like a normal, quasi-normal flight.
So when you heading back up again, Footy?
I'll give you a hint. Let me see. Never. No.
There's always Amtrak.
No, I have an alternate plan.
Okay.
I'm going to go on my annual Christmas with my friends who are human beings that will help me and protect me.
Right.
And I'm flying to Long Island, going to the show, watch Darlene Love's Christmas show, stay at the Garden City Hotel, which I'm sure you know is one of my favorites, and I'm going to fly back on a human airline. Okay.
Right.
Because I wasn't on one then.
Right. That's crazy. Yeah. We're trying to get to a family reunion one time, which was in Virginia Beach, Virginia. And we got on a plane as we were packing the bags in the car to leave for the airport. We got a notification from the airline that there was a problem with our flight, as we were, literally backing out of the driveway. And we finally got on the plane, and some drunken, irate,
there's always a bunch of that.
Irish soccer team that had lost the match to a bad referee call got on the plane and started literally trying to tear the plane apart. So we made an unscheduled stop in Orlando.
They were on my plane.
So the cops had to come physically remove the soccer team from the flight at our unscheduled stop in Orlando. Well, thanks to our unscheduled stop, we missed our connection in Atlanta, which was already in chaos like that. And at that point, it's like every person you came to for information would just tell you anything just to get rid of you, you know. Oh, yes, we have your bag. Yes. They go, yes, we have your bags. It's all taken care of. BS. They're just making up stuff. I think when they went on the computer, they were looking at YouTube or something. And we wound up sitting in Atlanta airport. Oh, here's some free meal vouchers. We'll get you on a flight.
I didn't even get the free meal voucher.
We wound up trying to go through security at like 3 o'clock in the morning. And there was a couple in front of us with a kid on a stroller. And so they.
Oh, you couldn't have any children where I was.
So they would
have been in harm's way.
The people, the TSA people, opened the gate and let the first couple through with their stroller. The kid was awake. When we come up with our kid asleep in the stroller, oh, you got to remove the kid. The stroller's got to go through.
Well, that was their buddy.
Yeah, what happened? Well, and so Lori at that point we take the kid out, wake the kid up. The kid starts crying, so she takes the stroller, folds it up, and throws it on the conveyor belt. Well, it turned into the Jerry Springer show. I mean, it was, finger in the face. You don't do this in my town. It was like, what's going on? And the TSA agent literally snapped her fingers at the nearby police officer, who walked over with a bored look on his face because he'd been through this all day long, and he just looked at us and said, look, either get on the plane or go to jail. He was just so completely over it. It was the most disastrous
You probably would have been better off in jail.
Especially going to Virginia Beach.
What is Virginia
I'm only
Beach?
kidding. It's on the Chesapeake. It's like
Chesapeake Bay.
It's next to Norfolk. Yeah, next to Norfolk,
I fished
Virginia.
there once.
You probably did.
Yeah,
And that's the Chesapeake is the main waterway to the nation's capital. So every branch of the military, even like the Air National Guard, the Coast Guard, they all have a big presence on the Chesapeake Bay there. So it's a huge military town. I was up there working in radio for a while. It was the most. It's a beautiful place. The land is beautiful, but it's so polarized, because that's also where PTL and Jim Baker and Tammy Faye Baker,
PTL?
All the TV evangelists in the 70s and 80s got all their start there. So it's either super military and super party people, or it's like super religious. So it's very polarized. It was a very polarized area. If you're from Virginia Beach to Norfolk, I'm sure it's a beautiful place now. I'm sure it's nothing like that. I don't need the Chamber of Commerce from the Tidewater area reaching out to me to complain. But
so what I'm going to do now, my plan is I'm going to fly up to Long Island, in New York. I won't tell you the name of the airline because I don't want too many people to come. And I'm going to stay in a hotel.
Mm-hmm.
Going to go to we're going to go to dinner,
Mm-hmm.
and then we're going to go to the show to see Darling Love, like we do every year for the last 100 years.
Right.
And we all get there. There's like 12 of us, and then I'm going to go back to the hotel. The next day, I'm going to go to the airport, and I'm going to be on a human airline headed to a human place, hopefully.
I'm afraid when things go wrong, I'm afraid they all turn inhumane. I don't know if there's
Thanks
one.
a lot, Ron.
I'm sorry. Well, listen, folks, if you would like to help
Some of
Footy.
the people that are going to be in my party crowd are not going to go for that. They're going to go, what's your problem?
Right, you're traveling with the entourage. You need Monty to come down here and fly up with you and keep you safe.
He's going to be there. Probably sitting right next to me.
Yeah, well then if Monty's with you.
He's talking about a very old dear friend of mine that he got to know through the years, and a couple to Washington.
We're in New York. We went up to New York for the Statue of Liberty restoration and unvailing. And
I don't know if you noticed, but he stole the Statue of Liberty.
It wouldn't surprise me. But
do you remember what happened when he got in the thing with the guy with the knife?
You got into a thing with the guy in the Italian restaurant sitting at the bar, and Monty decided to put a stop to it.
Yeah. Oh, you're right. He was like a sailor from
some guy in we're watching this whole Statue of Liberty unveiling on television, sitting at this bar in some bar in New York,
Midtown Manhattan,
and the fireworks are going off and the bands are playing and it's America this and America that, and you said something that really offended the guy, and the two of you had words. It was like, this guy, I don't know why we were separated by this guy, but
he was drunk and he came in.
He sat between us or something like that. You, this guy, Monty and me, and you two were having words, and then Monty just just very casually reaches in his pocket and pulls out a knife and puts it in the guy's back, and he's looking at you going, just push him. And I'm thinking, great. Here I am, my first.
Here's the bad part is I thought that was a good idea.
I'm thinking, this is my first trip to New York City, and I'm going to jail.
Do you remember what happened when we went outside?
No.
There was a guy in some kind of white outfit. Mm-hmm. And because the city was crazy.
It was insane. And there was a big cab strike. Speaking of strike, remember that?
So we get outside the door. The guy in the restaurant was a smart guy.
Yeah.
He took the guy and said, "They cut the crap. Sit here. They're leaving."
Right.
And we laughed and we went outside. And there was a guy who looked like Harry Belafonte in a white jumpsuit, or I don't know what you call it. So next thing I hear is, "Hey, what are you doing in that stupid outfit?" And I go, "That's Monty."
Yeah, I have to say, there were two trips.
Spending an afternoon with my friend Monty is a real memorable adventure.
You know what? And it's to my mind, being a hillbilly from the sticks, to me that was the ultimate New York City experience. I mean,
well, Monty
he's Mr. New York.
Yeah.
You know, he.
See, this is kind of funny. I don't really have to worry. Because if he's there,
right,
you ain't screwing with me. I can tell you that.
And he's no fear.
Yeah.
The man has no fear of anything.
What are you doing? They call me Buddy. He goes, "What are you bothering Buddy for?" Who are you? Where do you come from?
Right.
He always wants to know where
you come from, right?
Yeah.
What borough?
Yeah. And taking out the knife again.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That was because we went up. You didn't go with us the first trip, because the first trip was the whole thing we're talking about was the Statue of Liberty was falling apart, and Ronald Reagan was the president, and he came out and made this statement that if we want to restore the Statue of Liberty, we all have to pitch in. The government's not going to pay for the whole thing. And Ralph Rennick, who was the dean of television broadcasting in Miami, came out with an editorial saying, we need to band together and raise as much money as we can to save the Statue of Liberty. And being in Miami in particular, you know, a very Caribbean influence,
international,
very patriotic people who came to this country and got a real second chance, fell behind this. And so David Ross, who I call the P.T. Barnum of radio, decided to put together a caravan with Channel 4, and we would go up the Eastern Seaboard, stopping at city commission meetings and TV stations and radio stations.
Yeah, I remember you guys were in a van.
Raise awareness. We had a Y100 van. We had a motorhome. There had stuff all over it.
Name?
Ralph Rennick Jr. was the cameraman. John Drummond was the sound guy from Channel 4. They were in a Channel 4 car, and the three of us are going up the Eastern Seaboard. Well, let me just say, just put it to you this way. After spending 10 days on the road, in a motorhome, I can understand how rock stars,
I remember saying to myself,
have a drug problem.
What a moron.
Oh, that was, and the idea was that Sonny and I were supposed to have the motorhome so we could take showers and be clean and be presentable and be able to go
could drink like fish.
Television. And the first thing that happened was Alan Hennis, bless his heart, God rest his soul, was the van driver. And the first thing was no one ever told him how to turn the water on. So there was no way to take a shower. There was no running water anywhere in this motorhome that we're sitting in for 10 days. So not to want to waste the space.
You're such a hick.
I am.
Really
not to waste the space, I filled up the shower stall with ice and beer because I didn't want to see that space go to waste. So, and the first thing Sonny does, of course, is open a can of sardines. We're an hour on the road, and he's already got a can of sardines working, which he pours down the sink, which we can't drain, we can't rinse because there's no water.
What are you doing with the sardines?
God only knows what was going through his mind. So needless to say, we completely trashed that motorhome. We rented it from...
yeah, I think Dave had to pay something.
Oh, yeah. So the RV place on State Road 84 and 441,
Yeah.
I can't think of what it's called. But we had a long relationship with them. They would provide motorhomes as dressing rooms for all of our concerts. Well, that was... when we brought that motorhome back, that was the end of our relationship. Can't remember the name of it. I hate when I can't remember things. But yeah, that motorhome was just an absolute...
Yeah, I was not getting in that
disaster. But that trip up to New York was surreal enough. But then we all went up to broadcast from Battery Park for the unveiling of the restored statue, and you went up with us. And that trip was when we got hooked up with Monty, and the incident, as it were, took place. Do you remember? I don't know if you remember this or not, but the only person who stayed down in Miami was Captain Y, the traffic reporter, and Mark Lipoff. And Mark thought it would be great to, in addition to giving the traffic reports in South Florida, to give a traffic report on what's the situation in New York City. I don't know why he thought that was a great addition to our New York City broadcast.
Should have had Monty do the traffic.
But yeah, right. But we're listening to these traffic reports, and I remember you said, there's no road, there's no intersection like that. I've lived in New York all my life. I've never heard of that intersection. And every traffic accident he was giving was like some non-existent roadway. And what we finally figured out was some guy's calling from Miami. Hi, this is Captain Y. Could you give me a traffic report for New York City? Yeah, hold on a second. It's some guy from Miami wants a traffic report. So they were like making up locations and making up traffic incidents just to mess with him, and he's reporting this stuff all over the air. One of the many surreal events.
Poor Captain Y. He went on to become very, very successful.
He's doing very well.
Yeah, very
he hooked
successful.
up with Kelly McGee, who became Lipoff and McGee, and that really turned things around for him. So God bless him. Hey. I'm all for anybody.
A lot better than any of us.
Yeah, I was going to say, and folks, if you would like to help Footy recoup his gambling losses, we'll be go to GoFundMe. We'll be setting up a GoFundMe account where you can
Nobody will send any money in.
Well, what you can do is you can purchase Footy sauce, Footy hot sauce, and Footy wing sauce at your nearby Publix. If you go to Publix and it's not on the shelf, ask for the general manager and politely, don't cause anarchy, but politely ask him to please stock Footy sauce, and they will.
Have you been introduced to Footy sauce? Footy sauce makes it easy to give ordinary chicken wings extraordinary flavor. Footy wing sauce is made with a perfect blend of herbs and spices. So what are you waiting for? Pour it on. Footy's wing sauce guarantees you a better tasting chicken wing every single time. When you fire up the grill, pour it on. Let Footy be your wingman. Kick your next party up a notch with Footy sauce. Grab Footy's wing sauce and pour it on.
And every penny from your purchase of Footy sauce goes to all the great work being done here on the Here's Help campus to help young men. And you also have an off-campus facility for women. Don't you have young women?
Well,
outpatient clinic.
Yeah.
So men and women overcome their substance abuse issues and find a replacement.
You don't want to
life.
have men and women in the same.
No, well, but I know it was somewhere as opposed to being on the campus, because I know that you did that for a while and it just doesn't work out. But there are several campuses, great things going on here, great work going on here at the Here's Help campus. How's the plumbing school going?
Good. I was in there yesterday looking at it. Boy, I didn't realize how big that building.
How many square feet is it?
I don't know, but it's big. And no, I went in there with it was Sam and I, and they've done quite a job.
That's awesome.
Not shoddy in any way.
I think when we finish up, I'm gonna take a walk over there and take a look, because
take a look at it.
It's been fascinating, because I've been coming here every Tuesday, and I've seen this thing from the ground up, and so it's been great. Well, folks, thank you so much for watching the Footy Podcast. We're getting a lot of great views on a lot of the podcasts. We're up into like the podcast number 38, episode 38 now, and we appreciate you watching. We're getting a lot of views. Thank you so much for that. Thank you for your comments. Please leave us a comment. We love to read your comments. Make sure you click on the little bell on the frame of the screen here so we can notify you when we upload a new podcast. We usually upload a new podcast every week. Make sure you ask for Footy Sauce at Publix, the wing sauce and the hot sauce. Contribute to the Footy GoFundMe account to help him recoup his gambling losses and replace his lost luggage. And we will talk to you again very soon on the next Footy Podcast.
Thank you for listening to the Footy Podcast. To benefit, here's help. For more information about the Footy Podcast or Here's Help, contact us at 305-685-8201. If you need help or know someone who has a substance abuse or alcohol problem, you can call our admissions office at 305-685-8201, extension 224. If you'd like to make a cash donation to Here's Help and join the fight against drug abuse, call Footy at 305-685-8201, extension 227. The executive producer of the Footy Podcast is Sam Zarco, COO of Here's Help.